Yo, I'm Troy, this is TM Fitness. You are not your weight. So a little bit more of a mindset piece. I'm going to kind of recap a little bit about energy balance here. I've covered all this in more detail in previous videos, so if you want to know more about that, go back and watch those videos. But this pyramid is quite a nice little depiction of how your 24-hour energy balance looks. So the pyramid represents your metabolism. So at the base of the pyramid here, the biggest, most important part, the foundation, is your resting metabolic rate. So this is all the energy you need for the most basic bodily functions. And then the next biggest part, yes and no, is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is all the activity that you do on a daily basis, all the general habitual movement that you do that isn't exercise. If you're very, very sedentary and you sit on your ass all day, that's going to be really low. If you're fortunate enough to have a very active job and you're on your feet all day, that's going to be very high. So this is the one thing out of everything, all the components in this pyramid, that is the most manageable. This is the one thing that you can influence the most. If you are very sedentary, in order to increase your metabolism, if you like, you would move more, walk more, stand more, fidget more. Then the next biggest thing on there is TEF, which is the thermic effect of foods. Can't really influence this one too much. I mean, yes, it will be higher if you eat more protein and fibre because they're the most thermic foods, but the overall effect is going to be pretty low. It's like if you eat very little fibre and protein, a lot of processed foods, it's going to be a little bit lower, and if you eat a lot of protein and more fibre, that's going to be a little bit higher. It's not going to be huge. And then at the top, you've got the smallest, least influential one, controversially for a lot of people, EAT, which is exercise activity thermogenesis. So exercise has the smallest influence on your total daily energy expenditure. If you're very, very sedentary and you don't exercise at all, you can take that one off. Okay, and then that is your metabolism. You're just missing the peak of your metabolic rate for the day. However, if you're very, very sedentary and you don't exercise, you never exercise and you sit on your arse all day, you can take that one out, you can take that one out, and then your pyramid's going to look like that. So it's much lower, and then it's much easier to exceed the calories when you're overeating. So I hope that makes sense. As I say, I've done a video all about energy balance. I think I called it the science of weight management. Go back and watch that one. It'll break this down into a lot more detail. But that just gives you that visual depiction of what your metabolism looks like, the things that influence your metabolic rate throughout the day. Okay, so let's move on to this mindset aspect. So going back to the title, you are not your weight. So what I find with people who want to lose weight, they're solely focused on weight. They're solely focused on numbers. I want to lose X amount of kilos, pounds, stones, etc. I want to drop X amount of dress sizes. I want to be a size. And then they develop this whole negative focus. And exercise plays into this quite a lot in a very negative way. The main negative focuses that I've noticed is too much attachment to the scale weight, using exercise to score points, and then getting in this good versus bad food mentality and good versus bad behaviours. I'm on it, I'm off it, this is good, this is bad. So these are all negative focus, and these will all lead to feelings of guilt or shame or anger. So I've put an asterisk next to the too much attachment to scale weight, because this goes back to the video that I did on goal setting. But if you set yourself process goals rather than outcome goals, it's a much healthier focus. Your outcome being your weight, it's that attachment to those numbers, that attachment to happiness, your perceived happiness coming from achieving a specific weight or number. The problem with that being that weight loss doesn't happen overnight. It's a long process. It takes a long time, and that means that every time you step on those scales in this time period, every single time you step on those scales, you're not at your ideal weight and you're a failure and you hate yourself. And then you fall off the wagon and you eat all the bad foods, you feel like shit, and then you punish yourself with exercise. It's a vicious cycle. Does it sound familiar? Let's adopt a positive focus. So instead of this really negative, stressful, anxious outlook here, let's go for a more positive outlook. So eat to nourish your body and to fuel your performance. Mostly nourishing, healthy, single ingredient whole foods that are going to boost your immune system and give you energy and make you feel good, rather than making you feel sluggish and all the time, and that are gonna make you exercise with more vigor and more focus and help you to recover from that exercise. Exercise for health and performance. So we've already established that exercise isn't particularly good at controlling or managing your weight or your overall calorie burn. So if you're exercising solely to burn calories, you're missing the point. Exercise is really good for your health. It's really good for decreasing insulin resistance, for decreasing your blood pressure, for improving bone density, for improving your strength, decreasing pain, making you obviously fitter. It's good for your heart and your lungs, and it can decrease all-cause mortality and cancer risk. There's loads of benefits to exercise beyond burning calories. The mentality that we see here is that people are like, oh, I've done 2 back-to-back studio classes today, so I'm going to go home and eat pizza and ice cream. That's great. You burned 800 calories in those 2 classes. You're now going to go home and eat 3,000. Is it any wonder you're overweight? And then that feeds into that previous cycle I was talking about. You're always punishing yourself with exercise. You're exercising to score points. You exercise, you eat. You exercise, you eat. Oh, I've eaten this. I've been bad. I've got to exercise more. No. And then that goes into the next point. So flexibility. Flexibility is really important, because if you're being really, really restrictive with your diet and your lifestyle, it's not sustainable. It's not healthy on a mental and emotional level. Allow yourself to have some of those, what you might perceive as bad foods, as part of your healthy daily intake of food. Banning foods is surely going to lead you to craving those foods more. So if you allow yourself a little bit, and if you can be disciplined about it, it's absolutely fine. So eat mostly whole foods, eat to nourish your body, exercise to improve your body and your health, eat to fuel that exercise, but then be a little bit flexible so you can still have a glass of wine or a pint of beer or a slice of cake. Just be sensible with it. So we're trying to get away from that negative focus, which leads to guilt, and we're trying to develop a more positive focus, which leads to a more overall positive mental attitude and a much better, healthier outlook on life, exercise and food. Okay guys, I've been Troy. This has been Fragrant. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, etc. Laters.